In today's crazy world, we're constantly using things we don't need, doing things we don't like, and never really moving forward or getting the results we're hoping for in either ourselves or our animals. Are you ready for a change? Join me, Wendie Patrick, your host on Quantumly Yours, Finnessiam Health's podcast, and become empowered to take control of you and your animals' health and well-being. We're all quantumly connected, so whether you're round the corner or around the world, it doesn't matter, because we can help each other and all work together on our journeys. So come, join me, and together we'll myth bust, share advice, knowledge, truths, and suggestions to help you awaken, grow, and continue your journey to a healthier, happier life. Hi, folks, and welcome to another episode of Quantumly Yours. I'm your host, Wendie Patrick, and we talk about all sorts of things on this podcast. First of all, with a little bit of housekeeping, I just want to thank everyone who's finding us, encourage you to share, like, subscribe, tell all your friends, tell us what you like, tell us what you don't like, tell us what you want to hear about, tell us what you would like us to talk more on. Based on the other ones. So on whatever platform you're listening or watching, please click on whatever buttons are there to like, subscribe, share, get notifications, whatever it is you need to do so that you don't miss out on another of my mad ramblings and different things to try and share and help you fill in some gaps, join the dots, understand some things. I don't know, whatever it is that I do. I get lots of different feedback from lots of you saying you're enjoying them and you enjoy listening and some good stuff. But if you have any specific things that you would like to know more on or hear about or uh, anything at all, if I don't know, I will try and find out someone who does. And while I'm on that point, if any of you actually do have some information or some knowledge or some experiences, whether you consider yourself an expert or not, the fact that you know more than the person standing next to you or me, then you're an expert in my book. And you're selling yourself short if you don't see yourself in that light. So feel free to connect and come on as a guest because we'd love to have you. We'll chat to everybody. And certainly, if you've got some advice or information or help to share that can maybe help one of our listeners or watchers out there as well, then so be it. All for the good. So today I'm just going to answer a little bit of a question I got asked, and someone who is fairly new to owning dogs or having dogs in their household, and wanted to know a little bit more as to how they can understand what their dog's saying to them. It's like, how do you talk to dogs? So the biggest thing is basically you have to understand, first of all, that, well, as you know, but you maybe haven't just connected that together, that dogs aren't that vocal in the sense that's not how they communicate with each other. Certainly your doorbell goes, the dog goes off barking because it gets attention from you and a reaction. And sometimes there is somebody at the door, whether it's the doorbell on the TV or the doorbell in your house. So somebody else might be coming in that has treats. So that might be a good thing. So it's like, oh, alarm, let me sing the song of my people. And let the humans know that I have got their back. Or maybe I'm just wanting treats. But lots of ways to learn to know what your dog is saying to you or your cat or your horse is understanding body language. And because we're a very vocal species, we tend to miss an awful lot of very simple signs from other people, even when we're talking to them, or even when we're listening to them, or watching them on a podcast, meeting them for the first time. having an interview with them. Doesn't matter what it is, but we'll miss a lot of different idiosyncrasies, like, are they telling the truth, or is that real? So tugs of the ear, scratches of the nose, too much blinking, a lack of eye contact, all of those things mean something. They do as well in the dog world. Although, of course, you don't see many dogs tugging their ears or rubbing their noses, but though they do. So, how do we sort of bridge that gap and understand what our dog's telling us? Well, let's go first of all where we're meeting a dog, any dog. Doesn't matter whether it's yours or somebody else's. You can start by reading their facial expressions and by their whole body posture. You will be able to tell whether a dog is confident, fearful, um, possibly aggressive, which is 70% fear. So it's basically trying to look harder than they are. Think of the bullies at school who always tried to make you think that they were really tough. And in fact, they really weren't. It was all bark and no bite, if you like. Dogs are the same. So they will basically, well, a lot of aggression is based in fear, and it's just not knowing how to react any other way. And they'll instigate a bite because they just don't know how to cope with the situation. And there are 10 levels of bite. So just because you say bite doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have awful lacerations and need lots of stitches, skin grafts, or amputations, or whatever. Heck no. A bite can be as simple as the dog literally just grabbing your mouth or grabbing your hand with its mouth or mouthing. And they can do this very gently. You can teach them as well when they're taking a treat off you to go slower, gentler. They'll understand the word gentle, and then you release the treats. And, oh, okay, that's the pressure you want. I got it. But if that dog comes to you with basically big, pumped up chest, if you like, head held high, tail upright, very stiff, maybe a little bit of a wag to it. But if that tail is upright or out straight and stiff as a board and very, very distinct in how it's actually wagging, be on guard, because that dog is. They may also associate that with the ears, either very stiff, depending on the ear set of the animal. They may be pinned back, they may be flat, they may just be up really high alert, or cocked up and forward, as opposed to laying back and softly by the side of their head. May also be with the posturing, the gritted teeth, the snarling, the baring teeth. That's a dog that you want to be very careful as to how you go and say hello. You don't run up to that dog and hug it and go, "Hi, puppy." If you do, you're an idiot. Let's just put it that way. Let's be absolutely simple. And no, I don't care if I offend you by saying that. If you don't understand a back off signal from an animal, then you shouldn't be near them. But if you find that dog comes at you with very relaxed features, maybe a little tongue flick, which is a sign of submission. It's like, oh, I'm not meaning anything. This is how I release my stress because you're a new person. I may be a little nervous around you. I do this as a self-soothing kind of motion with my tongue, and I lick my nose, and it's calming to me. So I'm not as socially anxious with meeting another dog or another person, a new person that walks in. So that's a little submissive tongue flick. You know, that's a gentler dog. The tail may be carried a little lower. It may actually be wagging fairly fast, but still a little stiff. That would be a nervous dog. So it's easier to then judge that. Same thing as whenever you're meeting a person, you just don't go right up into their face and go, "Hi, how you doing?" You'll judge the scenario, judge the situation, introduce yourself, and actually have a little bit of decorum and respect for their space. Do the same thing with an animal, please. Please do the same with an animal. They deserve the respect just as much as the people that you're meeting. So, whenever you're going up to approach this dog, You've got the tongue flick, all of that, and that's your little nervous dog. That's all right. So you can basically just don't go in and go, hi, how you doing? With the widened eyes, the big grin, which is literally baring your teeth to that animal. So you are now approaching them in a threatening posture. You think you're happy, all the rest of it. Some dogs that are confident enough and sure of themselves will pick up on your energy and understand, oh, it's just a happy, crazy human. It's not an aggressive, scary human. And they will react accordingly. And you will also know as well that person that you've brought into the house or brought to meet your animals, or you're going to meet a groomer, meet a dog walker, a pet sitter, different scenarios like that, where you are interested in knowing what that relationship is going to be between your dog and this other human. Watch their body language, watch their posturing. If they do come in all, oh, hi, how you doing? And they're actually doing that as a front to make you believe that they're happy and everything else. Watch what the dog's reaction is. Don't watch what your reaction is. Your dog will pick up on the true energy and intent behind that person's actions before you will. And in fact, if you do want to get better at feeling the vibrations, energies, and tensions, read from your animals first and let them show you how situations are, because they'll tell you. You just have to zip it, watch, listen, and even smell. They will smell a situation out too, because the nose will go, they'll see the scent of the person, which also gives off lots of information to other dogs. And just through the different interactions that happen, you'll be able to tell a lot between that person and your dog as to whether they're comfortable with that person and whether that person is confident, calm, and kind. So before you go maybe into an interactions of business with them, if it is a pet sitter, groomer, dog walker, trainer, whatever. Um, because if your dog doesn't like someone, you probably shouldn't either. It's a really, really true saying. I mean, let's face it. They're the best judge of characters. They can judge people much, much better and truer than we can ourselves, because we're going on image, looks, what's coming out of their mouth, rather than feeling their energy and noticing the intention and the vibration of their actual tone and accent. So lots of interesting things to do. So let's find the happy hyper dog that always comes. And the one dog that always jumps into my mind with this is a golden retriever, a nicely bred golden retriever. Which of course as well, because they're such a popular family dog, they also have the highest incidences of bites. Yeah, it's not a pit bull, people. It's a golden retriever. Very, very high up there. Because there's so many of them as well, but because a lot of people don't read body language. They don't listen to the dog. So if that dog's coming in, whole body wag, the tail is basically wagging the dog at this point, not the dog wagging the tail. So you will see this whole big fluid serpentine almost happening, where that tail's going. It's so happy. So there's no stiffness, there's no jerky movements to it. It's very fluid, it's flowing, it's happy, it's flowing. There's no blockages there at all. It's ready for fun. It wants that ball thrown. Now, one thing you may also find associating that is what some people misconstrue as being baring of teeth. And it's become a lot more recognized now. But I mean, 10, 15 years ago, a lot of people with that dog's sneering at me, that dog's growling at me. There's no voice or no noise coming out of the dog's throat or anything to indicate a growl, which isn't always right or wrong. We'll get to that in a second. But if they're coming with the little top lip keeps lifting, then it's basically a smile. So most people are now familiar a lot more with a smiling dog, but a lot of times before, people were reading it as being, oh, that dog's aggressive, that dog's scary. So smiles are also what's referred to actually as a submissive grin. So it's basically, I'm not here to hurt you. I really like you, and you're going to boss me around, and I don't care because you'll throw the ball and then give me a treat and just love me. And basically, happy hyper dog. So the grin is all good, the happy fluid motion is all good, and all the rest. Now, I did mention there about the growl. Now, you'll notice this may be missing in a couple of small dogs. And it's more commonly missing in small dogs than it is in large dogs because of large dogs growling, you listen. Problem is with a lot of small dogs that are carried here underneath the owner's arms, where every time the dogs growl, they go, oh, stop that. That's not nice. Oh, that's naughty. So they inhibit the growl. Never, ever inhibit the growl, people, ever. Never, ever stop your dog from giving a warning, especially small dogs, and especially if you actually want to take them to a professional groomer. Because if that growl has been inhibited so long over such a long period of time, for so many instances, the dog has learned to not growl anymore. So you've taught the dog to stop growling. Problem is, the growl is preemptive of a bite. So if that dog's on a grooming table, for example, and it has been taught not to growl, oh, that's naughty, Fluffy. Don't be growling. That's just not nice. Dog doesn't growl, doesn't like what you're doing. Next thing, there's just a bite or a little snap. And sorry if you're picking up some background noise. There's some rather noisy bird outside. What's it telling me? Not sure. Might be after bugs. Anywho, never a dull moment here. So never inhibit the growl. The growl is what you want. That is a warning. And if you don't listen to the growl and back off, which a lot of times that is if a little dog's held in someone's arms and someone approaches them that dog doesn't know, that little dog will perhaps growl because it sees its job as protecting the human that is holding it. Because number one, they don't want the human to drop them because it might hurt. And number two, they don't know the stranger who may be approaching and therefore being threatening. And the fact that I'm now being carried up at this high level, then it's my job to be in between my person and the person that's approaching. Therefore, I will growl and I will warn the person approaching not to come any closer. So if that is not listened to, then usually the growl inhibited goes away. Then basically, okay, you didn't listen to the growl, then I will bite you. If the growl is missing, then that is how a lot of times you'll get a little snap, a little bite. And a lot of times that little dog will do, which won't actually make contact. And it'll be laughed off and pushed under the rug. But you've just done a really, really silly thing. Because you've inhibited and stopped that dog from being a dog, number one. Well, for the fact that you're carrying it in your arms all the time instead of letting it walk on four legs while you're just walking on two, is a little bit sensical, or nonsensical. However, we'll not go on that rant. But just please pay attention to what you're doing with your animals. It's not an accessory. It's not a fashion statement. It is an animal with teeth, with feelings, with expressions, and you should actually treat it as such and be aware of that. If you want to have something cute under your arm, get a teddy bear, get a cute purse, whatever, but don't get a cute purse and then stick a dog in it. Certainly there are ways for that. And I mean, I'm not condoning people who put their dogs in purses, but for goodness sakes, please let it be a dog. If the dog wants to growl at someone, it's actually trying to protect you. And you should probably listen to that as well, because maybe the friends you're hanging around with really aren't that great for you after all. Your dog should be telling you these things. Anywho, so meet and greets, pretty much covered that. The growl, the sneer, the submissive flick of the tongue, the lying down, rolling over. I'm exposing my belly to you, therefore I am of no threat whatsoever, but while you're there, you can rub my belly. Completely submissive. Basically, the most what's the word then? Gosh, it's escaped me. But basically, if they were getting attacked, any predator will usually attack underneath the throat area, around the belly, where the heart is, and everything else. So a dog will not automatically lie down, roll over, and give you its belly unless it is actually saying, "I submit to you, human. Oh, God on two legs, and do whatever you want because I am here to do your bidding. I am no threat to you whatsoever." And yes, scratch my belly. So you're usually quite fine with a dog that does that. You know yourself, if you've gone up to a dog, they lie down, roll over, and even the tongue's flicking at the same time, the tail's hitting the floor, and they're all on their back. You know you've got a friend. I mean, it's quite simple. Other things, other signs of submissions with the tongue flick sometimes can be associated a little paw lift. And that's also submission as well. Basically, I'm not on all four of my feet. I can't take flight if I am being threatened in any shape or form. Therefore, I don't know how you quite think of me right now. And this could be an approach by a child, for example, or someone who's nervous around dogs, where the dog will go, "Oh, but I'm no threat to you. I'm fine here. Just licking my lips and holding my paw up because I can't run away. Don't want to run away. I'm fine. Don't be scared of me." And they'll be very quiet and very small. So dogs will read your energy first and approach the person the same way. So if you've got a little child where um, they're timid of the dog or whatever, they're hiding behind your legs, the dog may come up rushing to you, all happy, barky, whatever else it does, but it won't go straight up into that personal space. A lot of dogs that charge towards barking, thinking even of a little one I have here, little terrier. A lot of terriers, very, very common way of greeting. Sorry if you heard the dump truck running by, or running. Trucks run in Nova Scotia. Did you know that? Flying by our front. So, yes, I apologize for the background noise. Windows are open. Beautiful summer's day. So, anyway, barky terriers are what they are. They're barky terriers. They do sing the song of their people, generally speaking. A lot of them aren't always over super confident that they would just basically keep barking and come and hit your leg. But if you think of a dog barking, it's barking. It's not actually being effective with that mouth, so it actually can't really bite you unless it stops as soon as it gets to you and then chomps into your leg. Yeah, that was Dimitri shaking it off, saying, "I've had enough of your insults, lady. I am leaving the room." And that's quite simple. So if that dog backs up, then obviously, I mean, you always give them the benefit of the doubt. Know that they can bite. They're not all going to. But if they grab your hand, they're not always going to pierce the skin either. And that's how a lot of bites happen, is because as soon as that bite or that mouth comes on to make contact, our automatic reaction is, "Oh, protect my hand, I have to pull it away." It's like the same thing whenever you put it on a hot stove, you pull it away. And more often than not, the action of pulling your hand away will cause the laceration. It wasn't actually to do with the pressure, because if the pressure was actually true with that, you try to pull your hand, that hand's not going to come very easily if that was a real, real strong intent bite meaning to harm. And I think it's about a level 8 that you have to get to on the bite scale for it to actually puncture or break skin and have actual intent. So, yeah, always be safe around an animal. You never know. I mean, saying that, I have dogs that should be theoretically scarier, and yet I have a cat that sits there with a flick knife, and he will basically just stick his claws into you and bite you for the sheer fun of it, if you haven't given him enough attention the right way. So cats are always funny that way. Strange little aliens. But other signs of how you can understand what else your dog knows. Okay, so now you know how they can greet you in different ways, different signs of submission, happy. So certainly the set of the tail and facial expressions, because you will see whiskers sticking up and being pronounced forward if they're feeling threatened. by yourself, by a person, by another dog or cat. And it's another ploy to make myself look bigger, have more presence, but it's also stress induced. Might be a more tightening of the forehead. You will see, even if a dog's got a wrinkly face, some might go away. The eyes may widen, the ears go back. If you think of that whole tension, if you were to basically pull your hair back or your ears back or everything else, if you're seeing that tension in a face on an animal, then yeah, take note of your surroundings or their surroundings or another dog that's in their space. Um, we have touched on as well about the cage-free grooming thing, which isn't always wonderful because a lot of groomers are busy grooming. They're not watching the intent of the two dogs in the corner picking on the other little guy. But certainly if you're watching on a webcam or anything else, or you pick up your dog after that has happened and then sleeps for 3 days, it was because it was so stressed out from the whole traumatic experience, not just from the grooming, but from the dogs it had to be forced to interact with while it was waiting for you to pick it up. Anywho, so we know about our meets and greets. We know about signs of submission. We know about signs of happiness. What about stress? Well, that posture in the face, um, stress wouldn't necessarily always be a dog looking bigger or bearing up to face whatever's coming. If stress has gone beyond that point of a meeting and it's in a situation where it is stressed out, a lot of times a dog will shut down, as it's called. You'll see a lot of this in rescues, where the dog will basically take itself into the back corner of the kennel, curl up as small as possible, and try to hide. Just try to make itself look invisible. Bless it. That can be a stress sign. It's not always a comfortable, I'm sleeping, leave me alone. Comfortable sleeping, leave me alone would usually be on the bed on the other side of the kennel and maybe stretched out, maybe not completely tucked in and folded in on itself. Stress as well will basically be a lot of tongue flicking, looking away, like that whole side eye again is like, oh, I'll give you the side of the eye. I'm not looking at you straight on, but I'll come back and forward and look a few times. It's like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I don't understand the situation. I'm a little bit stressed. And you may either, and I've seen this quite a few times whenever I used to do a lot of training, but that can then be backed up with a yawn. So if you're training, a yawn is a release. The same way when I'm doing energy work, I get releases as yawns, as opposed to always doing the proper breathing. And also when I'm tapping in with clients remotely, I will connect and I'll know I've got a connection if I'm getting yawns. So if that dog is doing the looking away slightly, maybe a tongue flick, and then maybe a yawn, that means that whatever you've just asked that dog to do, or whatever you're standing staring at it for, the dog doesn't know why. So it's a bit of a release going, I have to release some stress here because I don't understand what's going on. So it's more of a sign of confusion than anything else. Now, the other version is you've gone through maybe some training, you've done your click and treats for a week, you've added the cue, you've done it all right, and then you've asked the dog to sit, and then you've waited. So the whole thing, shout out to Gary Wilkes, don't say it twice. So you say the command once and you wait for it to happen. And you know through lots of repetition that the dog understands what this means now. So you've done all that. So you're testing the theory. The dog will basically look around. It'll give you eye contact for a second. It's like, oh, you want me to do what? Oh, okay then. All right. So the dog may be standing there and going, well, I know there's a treat coming. Wonder if I can get the treat without doing what she's asking. So they'll break the eye contact and they'll start to look around the room. And they'll look around a little bit more. And they'll check in with you once in a while. They'll look and see if you're still giving them eye contact and you're still actually giving them attention. And they go, oh, look, still watching me, still waiting for me to do this. Wonder if I can win this. Um, I don't know whether I can or not. She's still there, still there. And they'll look around the room, look around, roll their eyes, and maybe even just move position very slightly on their feet. But if you still have their attention and they haven't already walked off by this stage, then just keep waiting. Trust me. I'll look around a couple more times, and then all of a sudden you'll hear, and then the dog will sit. So that sigh of relief is a sigh of relief, meaning, okay, I'm not going to get this on my own terms. I have to do it on theirs. So when that sigh happens, you know the command is about to be answered, whether it was a sit, whether it was a down, um, whether it was a paw, even for that matter. And once that sigh comes in, you've made a really good breakthrough with that animal to know that it has now understood what you've asked, it has now done what you've asked, and now you give the reward. So, sigh of relief is exactly that. A yawn will signify more confusion. It does not always mean that it's actually bored or lacking oxygen, but it is a release. So, even if they've been waiting for their dinner a little bit longer than normal, maybe you'll look over and the dog's there trying to pretend that it's not waiting for its dinner and getting impatient with you, and then all of a sudden it'll just yawn. And it's just a release. It's a release. So it's just a way of shifting energy around. And maybe they were just a little bit tense and anxious and waiting for something to happen. And it's like, oh, are we going to go out yet? Are we going to get a walk? Are we going to get played with the ball? I'm not sure. Oh, it's putting the coat on. Oh, great. So simple little things, very simple little things. Once you pick up on one or two of these, you'll actually realize that you're talking with your animal. The other thing I always love to see from an animal, whenever they're happy, they understand who you are, they know who you are, and they're very relaxed, is that they will enjoy stretching out completely because it's so lovely to stretch, relax all the muscles and everything else. The little ginger cat Amber that is here that may you may have seen on a previous podcast if you watch, but she loves to greet me in the morning doing her little yoga stretches. So it'll be good morning, Amber, and there'll be the little chirp. And then she will stretch out her front feet, and then one by one, she will stretch out a back leg, and then the other back leg, and go, oh, good morning, human. Do I get breakfast now? So it's just lovely little things that you can watch to make your connections with your pets and animals a little bit more understanding and so that you can then keep developing. The best way to get better at it is to keep watching. Don't keep talking to your dogs and expecting them to answer you back, but you can sit and watch your dog. And something else that you can do is actually learn how to meditate with your pet. We have a little blurb on our Finnessiamhealth.com. It's just a fun thing because actually what we're going to do, I'll probably go right into the next podcast shortly and talk about meditating with your pet and how then you can yawn and stretch and relax as well with their help. But a little bit on horses as well. If you have horses, their ears back are usually a bit of a threatening sign. Back off is usually the biggest thing. They will yawn as well as a release. They will stretch out as a release. They will soften their eyes and blink very slowly if you're scratching just the right spot on their neck. Their bottom lip will get really, really loose and soft. So you know they're relaxing and they'll doze off to sleep and have a little nap while you're giving good scratches. You'll have lots of different things from them. They're not as obvious sometimes or as over affectionate, unfortunately, as maybe our dogs or cats, because we can't necessarily have them on the sofa with us watching TV of an evening, but you can certainly hang out with them. They are wonderful therapy because a horse will only come to you if it understands that you're not a threat. When you think of a horse, it's a huge animal. Yes, they can do damage if they really wanted to, and if you're in the wrong place at the wrong time, it happens. Um, but if you want to know where your vibe is or how your energy level is, or whether you're happy or sad, go ask a horse. Unless you have a nice level, kind temperament and energy about you, they won't want to come near you. Because if you look at a horse compared to a dog or a cat, they are a prey animal. So they don't kill other animals for food. We do that. Dogs do that. Cats do that. Horses don't. They eat grass. So therefore, they are lower on the food chain to some degree and are seeing that everything that they meet, everything new, is going to kill them. There's a possibility it's going to kill me. Oh. That's why, put a stick in the middle of the yard in the wrong position that the light hits funny, and the horse will go, oh no, it's scary. Especially if you've got an Arabian. Um, but you just check your vibe at the door, you come in, and if you can walk around a horse and pick up each of its feet without it giving you a hard time from doing so, you'll know you are pretty centered and balanced. That's why a lot of horses are even used in therapy for rehabilitation. A lot in prisons as well, where they will have prison programs with horses, with mentally handicapped. Wonderful, wonderful therapy animals. And indeed, as well, they're the most wonderful natural physiotherapists, because if you're riding a horse, then the motion that it makes when it's just walking, and the motion then that promotes going through you when you're relaxed on it and you let yourself go with the horse, you're getting a massage right through from the hips all up your spine. It helps coordination. A wonderful thing. We're probably flying off a little bit, not really talking about dogs anymore, are we? But anyway, just lovely things that you can actually do with animals and pets, and learn to communicate, learn to have a bond, a connection with them. They do you good. They are good for your health. And certainly if you are listening to this and have enjoyed it, let us know. If you're listening to this and you have a pet, go give them a cuddle. So hopefully that's helped a few little things. Now you'll be starting to watch and understand what different body language and motions and expressions actually mean. Feel free to let me know what you think about the podcast. Feel free to ask more, and feel free to tune in next time. And until then, you can go to finnessiamhealth.com. You can sign up to make an appointment with me if you do need help with yourself or your animals on a health basis, training basis, info on all sorts of things. But lots of information on there. Finnessiamhealth.com. You can go there and certainly have a look at all of our good things that we offer. And indeed, click on the button on the homepage to read the little blurb on how to meditate with your pet. And we're going to do a little podcast on that as well. So that should be quite fun, explaining why, because lots of people don't like to read, but they like to listen while they're driving down the road. So hopefully you've enjoyed this one and you'll tune into the next one. And until then, you know what to do. Stay possum.
All information, products, and topics discussed in the show are simply the host and guest's personal opinions and are for informational purposes only. None claim to offer a diagnosis, treatment, or cure. All listeners and viewers are encouraged to do their own research and consult with their own healthcare providers before changing or adapting any new protocols. Finnessiam Holistic Health, nor any of its entities, assume any responsibility or liability for any consequence relating directly or indirectly from the information contained within the podcast.